What's up, guys? It's your boy OnlyRandz, and I am absolutely ecstatic today. Number one, I'm headed out on vacation, hence why I'm wearing all the jewelry. I got a flight to Vegas to catch. We're going to show out there. Secondly, Jus Reign just dropped Late Bloomer Season 2. I just watched the first 2 episodes, and we're going to have a little bit of discussion and recap here. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode, I suggest you go watch them first and then come back to this video. Make sure you comment, subscribe, follow, share, all that kind of stuff. You got the Instagram going crazy, we got the YouTube going crazy, and I'm super grateful for everyone who's been fucking with me thus far. And to everyone new who's coming, thank you as well for your time. Episode 1 basically starts off with Jus. He is sitting in a dark, dingy room. He's in a basement with a bunch of students. We know the student struggle right now. It's a hot topic of discussion. You go on to X right now, and everyone hates students. Send them all home. They say send them all home, and I agree. No, I'm kidding. I love the students. You know what I mean? They're out here grinding hard. They're working hard, and everyone deserves a chance to make a great life in Canada. It starts off, Jus is in an apartment. I'm kind of shocked that he would have moved in with a bunch of students, but I guess that's kind of like a funnier trope. I'm shocked that they couldn't find other Canadian-borns to kind of live with, in that area. I'm sure a lot of people are kind of going through some similar things. And then he's talking about how he moved out and his mom, is calling him. He, canceled the call. I thought that was just like, he's recording something. I go through with that myself. And they canceled the call or rejected it, and there's nothing. But there's more to it. And then Rebecca comes over after, and they're about to slam. They've been dating for about 3 months now. So this is 3 months into the future from the last episode where, he had ran out of his house. They're about to slam for the first time. I mean, 3 months and you haven't slammed yet is pretty long, but, if you really like a girl, hey, by all means, Captain. They're about to slam, and a variety of cock blocking occurs. One of his roommates comes in, tries to reset the router. He doesn't have a lock on the door, which is, kind of a shame. And then they're about to slam again. He's about to stick it in. I can feel it. And, he's got his hands on her hips. Then he moves to the ass with the scene cut. Just as a man of culture, goes straight for the ass grab. They're about to slam. And then all of a sudden the pot goes on. And, that wouldn't happen. I don't think that's ever been a situation where like the pot is going to be blaring while you're about to slam. It's a bit of a low-hanging fruit joke, I think. But, some people might like it. Anyways, it kind of cuts out, and they're showing the rest of the basement. It's a classic, suites made out of nothing, and it's just like it's illegal suites everywhere. They cut out a doorway into the foundation, which is highly illegal. It compromised the structural integrity of the home itself. Story for another time. It's the construction guy in me kind of going at that, and then Rebecca asked Jus to move in with him, which is kind of crazy. Now, the scene does kind of stop here, but Rebecca left her previous boyfriend of 9 years. Maybe he wasn't fulfilling her in a numerous amount of ways. She left that guy for Jus. Could that be foreshadowing where she's going to be cheating on this guy, on Jus, or she breaks his heart? I have a feeling it will, but, we'll get into it. I don't really like that girl. She's hot, she's cute, but I don't like her for that, I just don't trust that. A monkey never lets go of the first branch until it grabs the second branch, in this situation being cocks. So that's not a good quality. I don't think that's a great quality, but we're going to find out how the rest of the season plays out. Now this kind of cuts over to Jus's parents' house, and Auntie is obviously not too happy with Uncle. Uncle's asking for a glass of water. She has to tell her a few times. She's doing her thing. And then she puts it on the counter, making him get up. And then she also tells him that the hood fan's not working and he needs to fix it or something, along those lines. And he just kind of sighs and he's choked. But, this is a new life where they're still planning the wedding. And, Uncle and Auntie and Manu, who's looking a little tired. She is looking a little tired. I think maybe that's, she looks a little exhausted. I think that was the point. And, or if it's not, then I apologize. But, there's a little bit of tension kind of going on in the house, and, the stress of the wedding is surmounting. Kind of carries on where Uncle is now, fixing the hood fan. He comes and he finds a bird's nest with 2 eggs that are in there. Maybe this could be a new purpose. It's 2 eggs where he seems to have a little bit of a a clash with his two children, so he's gonna have new purpose and nurture, these birds after Neil tells him some horrific details about how they'll be killed. And yeah, that's kind of a funny scene, but it's okay. I like how it's starting so far. Now it kind of cuts to a little bit more of the dynamic between Jus and his mom, and his mom has constantly been texting him and just kind of been like, "Yo, like, what's going on? I love you, etc., all this sort of thing." And Jus hasn't responding back. Now, from what I recall, is that they beefed, like Jus and the dad beefed, but I guess maybe the mom allowed him to leave. But moms are always kind of in the middle of this, right? I don't think you should be shutting out your parents. I think that's showing a little bit of selfishness in Jus's character, something that does evolve as it kind of goes through. And I'm excited to see how that dynamic goes out. You can never be your mom. You should never completely shut her out. You talk to her, even if you're not talking to your dad. The guys in the house are always going to kind of beef a little bit more. But it's your mom. You should at least text her back. Think about the worry that's mounting on her all the time, and she just wants to fix things. So it kind of cuts on to Chippy and Manny. They have shifted their relationship as well. I mean, I don't even think they were really friends, but they smoked weed a couple of times. They had a little girl talk, and then like all of a sudden they're best friends. But that's just classic girls. Like, they become friends so quickly and they fall out of friendship so quickly. It's, classic tropes. I don't fucking get it. But Chippy's very hurt by Manu, who's kind of shut her out of her life after she's decided to go forward with the wedding, even though she was having some doubts. I mean, Sukhman's a good-looking guy. He's a tall, handsome, successful guy. Why would you want to give that wedding up, And now maybe she has a situation where she doesn't want to confront the possibility that she was thinking about canning him and canning the wedding as a whole, so she's just pushed Chippy out of her life, So, I don't know. They're choked at each other, and they have a little bit of bitch energy amongst themselves. Mostly on Manny's part toward Chippy. I think Chippy just wants to kind of fix it and ruin, a happy couple, as girls do. They don't want to see their friends happy, they want to fuck everything up. Story for another time. So the next scene, goes straight to it. Next scene pops up. Rebecca and Jus are about to make out. They're about to have sex again. The cockblock bitch auntie is back. She's fucking lurking around the corners. And she is leaning her head up against the wall. Jus is trying to take off his pants. Kind of a funny scene. He trips and his arm goes through the drywall. And he accidentally hits the auntie in the face. And she's all hurt and she's fucking choked. And she's like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's my sister." Rebecca's pants are off, bit of a nice scene. They end up going to the hospital. They take the auntie there, to get her help, and everything's seemingly all good on that end. He gets reamed out by the uncle. He claims tenants' rights, and the uncle is having no part of it, rightfully so, I guess. That's actually a pretty funny scene. I really like that one. And then he's kind of sitting in the car, and Rebecca is asking Jus, "How you doing?" And in his mind, you don't realize it's a delusion yet, but he says that he's scared and he's confessing all this kind of shit. But they should never do that. Never show weakness in front of a girl, especially 3 months in, man. You can't fucking be doing that. A little bit further down the road, sure, and justified. I've made that mistake before. All it does is give girls the ick. They don't want to be hearing any of that fucking shit. Stay stoic. Stay, in your masculine frame. Don't be confessing to a girl. We all know that. We all fucking know that. And he does it. And then in that delusion, Rebecca tells him that he's a fucking idiot. He's a loser. Ha 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 ha. And then we realize, as it spaces back out, that Jus had imagined the whole thing and he keeps to himself. Now, in this scene, Rebecca says, just because we're doing things the wrong way doesn't mean they're the right way. Something like that. It's a fucking stupid thing. But she straddles him in the parking lot of the hospital, which I like, But the amateur part of this is that she did that on the driver's side. That doesn't make any sense when you got a whole fucking back seat and you got the passenger seat. All that's going to happen is her ass is going to hit the horn and you're creating unnecessary tension, which, is the case anyway. It cuts. The windows are all foggy. Nice touch, the car slam is just such a classic thing for us as Apne. I don't know if it is, for white people after like fucking 17, because they're bringing chicks over to their houses all the time, but it's a nice scene for Apne. And a guy who's in his 30s is, slamming like that. Scene cuts. Now they're back at Rebecca's place, and the clothes are everywhere. So just as the fucking Kora, he's a champ. He slammed her in the car Windows are all foggy, and now all of a sudden he's back at her place. Clothes are still everywhere. So they continued the slam. Like, how many slams are you guys gonna have? And this is where the classic, Bartka's still on after the first night of sex is occurring. They look, they kiss each other and they're having a good time. And then finally, episode 1 ends with Jus seeing like a TikTok or a news story where the auntie is absolutely flaming him and the students, more student hate, where a news anchor is saying that these guys are useless, blah, blah, blah. And Jus is looking at that and says, oh, I need to get out of here. And he agrees to move in with Rebecca. I have a feeling that the power dynamic is going to be kind of fucked, but, we'll find out. That's the end of that's the end of episode 1. Okay, episode 2 has now started. An absolute fucking wow moment. A crazy moment. Because this is showing that comfort levels have now been attained. Jus Reign has no parka on. Forehead looking like a fucking, the broadside of a barn. His fucking hairline's like back here. He's got the no parka on. And they have obviously just had sex. And he's smiling and he looks hideous. But she's accepted him. Comfort levels are reached. He's having the no parka sex. When I said it the first time fucking years ago, I was crazy. I got flamed for it. But there you go. Relatability. I love that. That's a strong fucking opener. That is a very strong opener to a scene. And I'm fucking here for it. Other thing is he's got the slight parka tan as well. Or the bagtan. You gotta love that too. And he's living with her now. So, in her bathroom, she's got fucking his hair everywhere. While he's doing the kangi as well. So, she's in for it. Plus all of his back hair and his fucking tricep hair is, it's in the bed now. So they are very comfortable with each other. So the one thing is, the scene kind of cuts over. He was living in that basement with like 6 or 7 other people. And, obviously I would imagine that the rent was pretty reasonable. He's living in Rebecca's nice apartment. And it seems like she's going to be covering some of the costs because, she's a little hi-fi. It's a nice place. I'm sure he's contributing in some way, but how is he going to be paying for it? He moved into her place. The power dynamic's going to be fucked. He's going to be a chamcha. I don't like that. I think there's going to be some tension as a result of this. Maybe I'm insecure, but that's just the way I feel about that situation. Chippy comes over, tells Jus about a slam poetry event that they're holding. One thing I'm pissed about is, fucking Randy Randall is here. Crown and Coke, #1 bestseller in the fucking game. Amazon. I had the screenshot. I'll pop that up. Why was I not invited to this episode? Like everyone's got to know at this point, right? Slam poetry. If you guys ever really need a judge, or a host, let me know. Crown Coke. I'm out here, right? Maybe I'll do a fucking poetry book tour again. Well, actually, I didn't really do a tour, but maybe I'll start releasing some of that content again. Regardless. That's my personal qualm. Chippy asked Jus to be a guest judge to host the poetry slam night. Now I've been to a few of these like industry artsy type of nights. I know exactly what they are. Jus says that him and Rebecca were supposed to go to Nobu and have like a nice dinner. So he kind of says no to Chippy, but it'll build on it pretty soon here. So as I suspected, Jus and Rebecca start talking, and she has been letting him slide on the rent a little bit. He's been paying like maybe a quarter of what it is. So she's giving him a pass now. That's very emasculating for a guy. And now they're going to an expensive restaurant like Nobu. Like, I mean, that's like a fucking $200-300 bill. Probably. It might even be more. I don't know. I've never been to Nobu, but when you go to an expensive restaurant, you're having some drinks, you're having like a nice meal. It does get into the 300 range, bottle of wine, something like that, right? So it's an expensive meal. And then all of a sudden he's realizing that she's kind of footing the bill on some shit. So he feels emasculated. He calls Chippy. He's like, hey, I'm in for the poetry slam night, to make that extra little bit of bread, however it was, right? And, again, this is going to be a building dynamic. I have a feeling that he's going to be feeling kind of shitty about this as the season progresses. So the scene kind of cuts over to the slam poetry night. They're all kind of hanging out. It's classic. It's a very nice venue for the event, actually, but it's like the classic, like interesting characters, like the very artsy girls and, this and that. Then the guy who owns the club is actually dating Chippy. His name's Umair. Right away, you get cocksucker energy. It's one of these industry guys. I know a fucking lot of these guys like that. I fucking hate him right off the bat. He does actually have an interesting character dynamic as the episode progresses, but right away you don't like him. He's very intense. He's one of these guys who's you know, you just yeah, he's very intense. He's very intense, but you automatically don't like the guy. That guy's going to be cheating on Chippy for sure, and maybe he could. Well, maybe he's not cheating, but it seems like he'll be driving a wedge at some point in the season, and Chippy will either be heartbroken or something else will occur here. Neil pops in. Jus and Neil are still beefing. Well, Jus is mostly beefing. He's kind of just avoiding Neil at all costs. If we don't all remember, Neil left a bunch of weed at Jus's house, which ultimately led to the big fight at their house and kind of ruined everything. So he's still kind of holding on to that, and he's not really confronting the problem or talking to Neil as he probably should. Jus runs into the bathroom to kind of avoid the whole scene. Babu's character walks in, the Dharmic Singh, who is extremely judgmental. He's kind of a jack. And, there's a scene there. I like his character, but, they kind of go for a little bit of toilet humor where, he's dropping a log and there's, fart sounds and shit sounds. And that's just the lowest hanging form of comedy. I kind of hate that. That's a cheap one. Like, just come on, you're better than that, bro. Like, you gotta, fuck, a shit joke? I just don't like it. Thing is, now they cut to the poetry slam and the performers. Again, super accurate. You got the feminist chick. You got Babu's character. I haven't seen the Dharmic Singh, who's been super intense like that. They got the singing guy. Again, that's very classic. I went to a poetry slam once, held by an industry, a South Asian industry, brown on brown night. They didn't receive my poetry well. Doesn't matter. I'm a #1 bestseller. The masses received it well, So they're kind of getting into it, and then there's this couple who does this anti-white poem and anti-Christianity poem. Rebecca is Christian, so she's a little uncomfortable about it. Neil is a little bit uncomfortable about it. They walk out, and now they have a little discussion. Does Rebecca owe Neil anything? To ask how he's doing and all that kind of stuff. And she's meddling a little bit. I don't know if I'd want my girlfriend to be meddling in those situations. You know what I mean? You don't owe him anything. He's not your friend. And now maybe you're just going to drive her for the wedge. Because we see that Jus is a little bit petty. He isn't responding to his mom. He's avoiding Neil. And he is kind of in a situation where, he's not in the best headspace. He's not the most mature in the show as of right now. So this could cause an issue down the road here, but we'll find out. This discussion with Rebecca leads Neil to give one of the shittiest fucking poems ever. It was so fucking cringy. I hated it. Absolutely. It was just shut the fuck up, dude. Oh my God. He's just I don't know what the fuck I am. Cause he's a halfer. He's half Punjabi, half white. And it just, I can't stand that kind of shit. It's just too soft. It's too cringy. But maybe that is his character, so, it's all good. So, Jus can't handle Neil's poem. He decides to go to the bar to get a drink. Umair confronts Jus, and Jus is like, hey, man, should I talk to you about payment for being a guest job? Umair says, I'm not fucking paying you shit. You've been kind of unprofessional. You kind of shut down my bar line when people were supposed to have some drinks. He's like, that's where I make my money. And he's like, I always wondered why you didn't blow up yet. He's like, but now I can see, because you're fucking unprofessional and you're a messy dude. Go fuck yourself. And I gotta say, Umair's right. He's 100% right. Jus was being kind of a cocksucker here. He didn't have to be completely checked out and not enthusiastic about the position. It's a paid gig. Show up. Fucking do your thing. If it's a volunteer type of thing and you agree to it and you're getting paid for it, or even if you're getting paid for it, you got to show up. Don't, be better than any fucking role that you sign up for. You don't want to do it, don't fucking do it. So Umair's right. Even though he's a bit of a cocksucker character, he's 100% right in this situation. In all honesty, I didn't really like the end of this episode. It's just kind of cringy. Jus steals a bottle of wine. Him and Rebecca continue to talk. The relationship continues to flourish. She becomes a shoulder to cry on, per se, or just to kind of vent to, which is cool again. But Jus doesn't have any other bros in the show, which is kind of weird. You gotta have male friends as well. And if Neil was your only friend, and then you have Chippy, I guess Sunny is kind of your friend, but he's obviously not that close to a friend either. I don't really get that. I don't understand why you don't have more bros per se. Regardless, they do this weird slam poetry gag thing at the end, and I just really hated how that ended. But you know, I'm excited for the next two episodes that are going to come out next week. Season 1 started out pretty slow, and then it just floored me after that. I think season 2 is going to do that. I think there's a lot of good dynamics here that are going to develop, and I'm excited to see how it kind of goes and plays out. On the whole, I'll see you guys when I'm back. We'll do another recap probably next week. And I am off to Vegas. Please wish me safe travels. Thank you guys so much for checking in. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that kind of fucking shit. Follow me on Instagram, etc., etc. Thank you. Out.